What is up, everybody? My name is Blaze, and welcome to one of the first editions of a new segment I like to call Blaze Babbles. And today it's about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. On Thursday, January 12th, Nintendo actually showed off a presentation for the Nintendo Switch. It was a full presentation, showed off a lot of cool stuff, and I left that presentation being very excited for a game that I didn't think I was going to be excited about. And that game is this one, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. They showed this trailer, and we'll play that here for you. There's no sound on this, so, it'll just be the video. But they showed this trailer, and I gotta say, like, when I first heard about Breath of the Wild, and they showed off a lot of, like, teasers and gameplay footage, whether it was E3 or whether it was just independently on their own in Nintendo Direct, I wasn't really too impressed with the game up until Thursday, up until the 12th of January 2017. In the past, my experience with Zelda was I loved Ocarina of Time. I liked Wind Waker a lot. I couldn't get into Twilight Princess for whatever reason. And to be honest, it felt too claustrophobic, which is the exact opposite of this game, as vast and enormous as it is. And Skyward Sword I loved up until the point where they made me go back to previously visited areas and find Triforce pieces. Now, I know that re-exploring areas that you visited in the past with new items, and you can open up new areas, and that's great, but I did not want to go back to those areas. So I never beat it. Triforce Heroes was really fun, even though it wasn't really a Zelda game. So for me, Zelda has been getting kind of, I don't want to say, like, stale's not the right word. It's not been getting stale. It's just been kind of overplayed. And it seems like there was a new iteration, almost every year, almost every 2 years, and there wasn't really much innovation in the series. But this trailer came out and totally changed my mind about Breath of the Wild. I thought that Breath of the Wild was just going to be another Zelda game, with the same cookie cutter, formation, the same cookie cutter storyline, the same cookie cutter plot devices and dungeons and stuff like that. And it wasn't really going to be anything new except for the open world environments. But after seeing this trailer and seeing the scale of the world is huge. It's an enormous world, huge cities. I mean, just that one scene there with all the water. I mean, there's as much water as there is land, it seems like, and I mean, just an enormous world to explore, which is awesome if that's what you're into. Which I'm not necessarily into, the whole vastness of the world. Like the whole Skyrim thing and Fallout doesn't really appeal to me that much. But I think many of those things are optional. So I don't think you have to make food to survive. I don't think it's about that necessarily. But those options are there. If you run low on health, you can make some food to survive. But the world is huge. Anything you see in the horizon you can go to, and I'm not sure how big it is, but it just looks huge. I have to say that. And then aside from that, we've got what seems like voice acted dialogue in the game from Zelda, from the Deku Tree, from many of the characters in the game. I don't know if the entire game is fully voiced. There may be several parts of the game where there are classic texts to read through, but I would imagine that very pivotal moments in this game are going to be fully voice acted, and if not the entire game. So super stoked about this game now. Aside from that, I mean, visually, it's basically, it's got the stylization of Wind Waker with the cell shading. And then it's also got a newer appeal to it, kind of like, it's got its own style, kind of like Skyward Sword, but not so much Skyward Sword. It's a little bit different. But it's cel-shaded too, like the old Wind Waker. And I just think this game has a ton of potential. And this was the trailer they showed off last, it was probably a couple years now, when it was coming out on the Wii U. And it still looks amazing, but I feel like a lot of this is very scripted. I mean, this camera angle doesn't work for running on a horse, right? So I feel like this is just a video that plays, that maybe introduces Link to the game or something like that, which is why I wasn't really that impressed. Yeah, it looked cool, but it wasn't really something that I was like, that I knew was going to be an amazing experience. But after watching that trailer on Thursday and seeing what Nintendo has in store, I'm completely stunned, completely blown away by The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. You know, as far as like, you know, secrets, I'm sure there are videos out there that are tearing this trailer apart to try to find things that are not necessarily in the game just yet, but or have not been announced rather. But seriously, this game looks amazing, and I really can't wait to play it. I love the small details in that scene there where you see the Deku. I guess it's not really a Deku scrub. It's I can't remember the name of that race. They were in Skyward Sword and they were also in Wind Waker. But they've also got like the Ruto is back in the game. Looks like the Zora take on a new look. If those were Zora, they might be a whole new race entirely. But the Zora look more like sharks, which is cool. I think that's a welcome change. Not that the Zora look bad, but I think that changing the design for this game is great. The Gorons are in this game as well. Great fairies. We know Ganon's going to be a huge part of it. We saw a town that looked a lot like the Market Street in the Ocarina of Time that was set on fire. Probably after Ganon is awakened and takes over the castle. We also get to see a little bit of Death Mountain, a little bit of the forest. We get to see tons of things in this game that if you look closely, you'll be able to see a lot more. And it looked like there was actually a small sailing aspect to it, too. I'm not sure if that's going to be as in-depth as it was in Wind Waker, and I think a lot of people complained about Wind Waker, and rightfully so. Sailing was not my favorite thing to do in Wind Waker. But they did show a picture of a little raft with a sail on it, so it's very possible that you'll be sailing to certain islands. Probably not as in-depth as Wind Waker was, but I'm sure there'll be some interesting sailing parts there. There's the boat right there, actually. But we saw the Deku Tree, who actually mentioned that Link doesn't remember him, even though their first interaction was 100 years ago. So, you know, I don't know if this is a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. It may very well be. Of course, it could be a sequel to Wind Waker. It's very likely that the Link in Wind Waker met the Deku Tree, and the Deku Tree remembers Link, and then there's a lot of course, 100 years passes, maybe the water kind of dries up, or maybe some other stuff happens, and then the Deku Tree is, you know, it reshapes the land of Hyrule, and the Deku Tree is telling Link, hey, I remember you, but you don't remember me. And that would kind of explain the cell shading style to it, that it's not so much an homage to Wind Waker necessarily, but maybe that it's in the same style because it is you know, in the same, it's very close to the same timeline. So, you know, I honestly am stoked for this game. I hope that you are too. I could go on for days talking about it, and I would love to do an analysis trailer, an analysis of the trailer, but I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do that. I would very much love to do that, but time is always a factor. So what I will do is I'll end the video here. I want to hear what you think about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. What was your impressions before this trailer? What are your impressions now? You know, what kinds of things do you expect to see, and what little things did you pick up on in the trailer that maybe I missed? Post it in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. I do videos every Monday through Friday on the Pokemon trading card game. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Zelda today, just a little off-topic discussion. But yeah, definitely hit me up in the comments, and I will catch you on the flippity flop.